All right, Tan, let's do the show, man. Let me put down my drink. You know, I have to read about our wonderful sponsor, Paisanos. Let me read to the people. So if you use the BOGO deal, buy one, get one free on game day, you can use the code Redskins online or on the app, and you'll buy one, get... What are you doing?
I'm already on top, buddy.
How is it? Where did the pizza... How do you...
Continue.
You have to buy one to get one, so if you bought one, where's the... Thank you, Shannon. Shannon's not included in the deal. But the pizza is... What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. Let's start the show.
It's the Santana and show. Number 89, hustle all the time. Travis on the right, hot mic on the left. Every single week, it's a lyrical.
I ain't had no more dance moves in there. I'm ready to go.
You're too tired.
Is this Santana singing too?
I wish. I had that thing on iTunes right now. Pronto.
Popping. Ho, ho, ho. The Christmas edition of the Santana Moss Show podcast. Travis Thomas, Santana Moss, and my man, Gus Frerotte, former Redskin quarterback, former Pro Bowler, in here with us, spreading that Christmas cheer.
Christmas love, man.
Gus has the reindeer and the sleigh out back. He's going to deliver gifts after this podcast.
We're going to take them around. You know, I came from up north, so, you know.
I can dig it.
Brought those reindeer down. I had to get through that Bethesda traffic.
Oh, man. So you came the right way then. I knew I heard someone on the roof, man. I'm like, oh, that's Gus.
So I want to run through all the things Gus has going on because every time I talk to him, I mean, I get exhausted when I'm like, so what do you got going on, Gus? Most people say one or two things and they move on. Gus Frerotte, it takes an hour to get through all the stuff he has going on. I want to ask you about the pro day experience. You got a game, your coaching coming up. I want to ask you about winning profile. Just lay it all out for the people, man. What do you have going?
Man, I got so much going on. I got a call this year from Mike Tice. He said, hey, look, the NFLPA called me. They want me to be the head coach for the Collegiate Bowl. Would you be my offensive coordinator? I said, Of course, Mike, I'd love to. So I got the game plan last week. Been studying that, you know, because you only get so many plays. There's no motions, right, you know, so it's pretty easy to call the plays, and you got to go off the talent that you're going to get. So when I get out there in January, we get 5 days with the college players to try and put it in the plan. You know, get them working. I think I'm going to put them all wristbands on and make it real easy for them. And, you know, the goal
Before you get too deep, question. So would this kind of lead you into that format or that, you know, notion of saying that you may be a coach one day, you know?
Well, you know, I did try to be in the NFL for 2 years. Okay. I went and, you know, you go back to all your contacts, all the people you met. And the thing is it's so funny because they say, all right, yeah, I'll help you. What do you need? What do you need? Well, that's why I'm standing in front of you.
Yeah, right.
I'm asking for a job. You know, I want to come in and do this thing in the NFL because it's in my blood. Yeah. And, you know, they just say, well, you know, we don't have the room right now, or I already got my staff put together. Sure. And it's always something or other, and I just had enough of it. And then Mike called and said, let's get you out there. And I said, all right, we'll try it one more time. But, you know, the NFL football's in my blood. Yeah. I did it for 25 years straight. And when you do that, you got to be in the game somehow, some way.
For sure.
And so, you know, getting on to the pro day experience, which is a former coach of mine from the Minnesota Vikings, Dean Dalton. He put this together. Dean has so many. I'll come back to you when we do this next thing we're going to do. And it's going to blow your mind what we're doing next. But this pro day experience is we're taking kids, we're bringing them into a camp, and we're teaching them all about sports technology and jobs and everything they can do in the arena of sports besides being the athlete on the court or on the field. Because, Santana, you said it earlier, right? You don't have to be that guy out there. You can be involved in this great team that you love or the sport that you love in different ways, right? You might be the person that's taping the ankle. You might be the person that's paying them. You might be the person that's running the team. So we're showing them all these other things that they can do. And it's amazing because these kids come and they're learning. Our partner is Microsoft, and so this pro day experience for these kids is amazing. Microsoft's coming in and teaching them how to code, how to do robotics. They have a new HoloLens out. They put it on all the kids, and it was just phenomenal. And we did it. The last one we did was at Arizona Cardinals practice facility, and it was just a great day. We were there all day. Luis and Dejas He's their guy out there. He helped us through the whole thing. We had 500 kids. We had major sponsors like Wingstop and some other people, and I can't remember them all, but it was just a great day. And this year in 2019, we plan to take it to about 16, 17 new NFL cities and give kids a different experience from NFL. And we bring NFL players. So if you came, Santana, we'd give you a group of kids. You take them through the whole day, and you stay with them. And, they get to be with you. They get to hear from you. You get to give them life lessons. But also we're teaching them everything else. And so it's a great experience
dope,
for the kids.
That's awesome.
That's dope. I think it's so dope because, we grow up, especially in some of our neighborhoods that we grow up in, and you hear about being the athlete. You hear about the only way you can make it is being the athlete. And it's a lot of kids you see from day one that they don't have the tools to be you or be those guys, those special few that make it as far as some of us have made it. And just to hear you giving them a different outlet, something else to look at. Back then we didn't have that. So, you have to kudos to you guys for showing them another way, showing them something more. And I believe a lot of these people will make it and have further, careers than some of those athletes because, when you play this game, it's not for long. So then you're going to have another career. If you teach them something now, even if you are the athlete, even if you are that guy to go out there and play a stint in the, whatever profession you may, you want to tap into, learning something before then can be there for you to tap into once you leave the game,
Well, I think it's so important, too, that these kids still continue to play sports. Because sports teach you so much.
No, you're right.
But then you can go into the media.
Yeah.
You can go into different areas of the game, analytics, all those things that are so big that there's so many jobs out there and so many different professions that these kids can go into. And you're right, Santana. And we try to bring, kids that are from disenfranchised communities and try to bring them in and teach them, like, look, yeah, you can be the athlete. You may be the 1%.
Yeah.
But you can also be the other percentage that are working in all these jobs, right? Because there are jobs out there for you.
So listen, for the holiday season, before we get into It's a Wonderful Life, Gus Frerotte edition here, because we're going to get into his life story. Did you have anything else you want to plug? You good?
One more. You're going to like this one, too. So Winning Profile by Dr. Gary Russell. I'm a consultant with them, and I have to read this because I haven't memorized it yet.
You showed this to me earlier. It's mind-blowing.
So here, I'm just going to read off what he wrote. All right. He said, statistically speaking, if you're listening to this, you're not an NFL quarterback. Right?
I'm listening.
If you are, good for you. But statistically, you don't exist. This is for the rest of you. All right? Statistically speaking, you've never run an organization worth billions of dollars. Think about that.
Right.
There's not many.
No.
Okay? Been working with some guys lately, a company called Winning Profile. This is really changing my way of thinking about performance and talent. It's something I wish I had while I was playing. Truly it is, because Gary changed my life when I went through his profile. And it's all about, if you know the guys that you're with and you know what they're all about and what makes them tick, you're going to win. Okay? So people don't come with instruction manuals.
Yeah.
Right? We're all different. We all come from different backgrounds, right? He grew up different than I grew up. I grew up in the woods in Pennsylvania, right? You grew up down in Miami, right?
Yeah.
So it's a different background, and we don't come with manuals.
Yeah.
How do I deal with Santana?
Right.
How do I deal with it? And you got to figure that out. And so the key is to this is for companies and teams to stop losing, right? We think of it as losing as I just lost a game. Companies think of it as I lost employees. I'm losing money.
Right.
Right. I'm losing job performance. People aren't coming to work. Why? I got to start winning, right? And so that's what this really is about, is if you know those people and if you know what they're about, you're going to start winning. Because if you can bring your team together, whether it's a football team, if it's FedEx, if it doesn't matter who, Goldman Sachs, it doesn't matter what kind of team it is. If you bring that team together and they're all in for the same reason, you're going to win. And so we're not telling you that you're going to win, but we're going to show you who wants to win.
I like that. You know what? That stands out to me because I remember in my MBA class we did something on this guy, and I'm not sure. We're gonna have to look it up. I'm gonna have our producers Rob or somebody in the back look this up. Forgot the guy name, but he's supposed to be one of the wealthiest business owners. And I'm not sure if he's either in Japan or Dubai. But his logic to his workplace was be fun, creative, and he wanted everyone to learn every job. So the work atmosphere was, man, they had Wacky Wednesday, they had this day Friday, they had this day Thursday.
But you were
they
learning
played games, but no one stayed doing the same thing the entire year.
Wow.
You learned everything from ground up. And even if you was getting paid you still got paid your check, but you learned every job. You actually changed jobs. I don't know if it was weekly or monthly. We're going to have to look that up. But I learned that in my MBA class, and his rate of what he got back from his workers and the money he made, wealthy as crap. He also never paid himself, ever. Always paid his employees. His business is worth billions, almost billions, and he never paid himself yet. So I'm going to look that up. But that sounds familiar to what you just preached.
So what he did, he went into Giant Eagle, which is the largest grocery chain in Pittsburgh, right? They're a huge grocery store. So he went in and profiled. He said, I want your top 20 store managers, and I want your bottom 20 store managers. I'm going to profile them. I'm going to find out why they're different.
Right.
So he profiles them. He says, okay, here's what I found out. Now here's what I want them to do. He coached them to do all the same thing. So in 6 months, he made Giant Eagle an extra $1.5 million by doing what you just said, profiling their managers to work with their employees to make them better, to make them want to come to work.
Cohesion.
To cohesion, right? Because if you're running a store and you don't talk to your employees and you don't care about them and you don't show them anything, I don't want to go to work, right? But if you have somebody that cares about you, talks to you, asks you how you're doing today, I'm going to go to work. I feel pretty good about going to work.
Man, I'm getting a lot of quarterback vibes from this side of the table right now, Tanner. I'm ready to go run through a wall for Gus Frerotte right now, Tanner.
To you, man. You right now 100-something plus yards in the first quarter.
Wait.
Ain't been done.
Ain't been done, Tanner. All right, I want to start with this. I don't know about you, Tanner, but in my lifetime, and I've said this to Gus before, every time I meet someone and get to know someone from that Pennsylvania, that Pittsburgh area, right? They're always tough as nails.
Yeah.
Always. I don't know if it's the Iron City beer. I don't know what it is. Something in the water. They're always tough as hell, man.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've asked him this before, but just your upbringing and growing up, you tell some great stories, too, about your dad, your old man, God rest his soul, and how he raised you. Why is it everyone from that area is just tough as nails, Gus?
It's blue-collar mentality, man. Our dads were mill guys. They were hard workers. They didn't miss a beat. You didn't see your dad because he was working all the time, and the thing about it is they just my dad was one of 15 kids. And you had to be tough. You had to be tough growing up in that family. He was in the military. He worked in PPG for 42 years. I've seen my dad take a chainsaw across his forearm, wrap a cloth around it, and say, I'll go to the hospital when we're finished with the job. And so you just get that mentality growing up, like, yeah, it may be hurt, it may be tough, but we're going to finish, right? And that's the mentality a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of players come from in Western Pennsylvania. It's never going to be easy, and you got to fight for everything you get. And so it's pretty interesting. I mean, I broke my neck in 9th grade playing football. I crushed the 4th vertebrae. I tackled somebody with my head down. I'm like, I'm never playing this game again. Never playing this game again. My dad said, you're going back out there. I didn't actually play, but I went and supported the team. I did things with the team, and lo and behold, in 11th grade, I started playing quarterback. Never played quarterback before. I started playing quarterback in 11th grade. Didn't play defense that year. My senior year, started playing defense and playing quarterback, and just, changed my life.
Wow.
Interesting.
Well, you were tight with Curtis Martin, who's from that area, too,
get to
bro.
That. Curtis Martin, you heard the Reeves story.
Yep.
A few more guys from that area. I mean, you're right. Those guys from that area, they're a different breed, and you wonder why. But when you look up their backgrounds, you look at how they were on the football field, it's no questioning, why they like they are because of, the way they bring it in their sport. So just to know that you're from that area, man, that's interesting. Just hearing your story, that's what's up, man.
Yeah.
That's dope.
So, Gus, I've told you this before, too. So, growing up in my house, Redskins, diehard, both parents, right? And obviously, you've given me a ton of great memories in my lifetime before we ever met. But I always tell the story about how my dad went ape you-know-what because he was sick and tired of Heath Schuler as quarterback, and he would scream, put Frerotte in the game. And there was all kinds of foul language that I'm not going to say on this podcast, okay? Frerotte gets in, boom, he balls. My dad forever loves this man.
Wow.
So take me back to that time in your life. Were you buying your time? Did you know you would get a shot eventually?
I had no idea. I just knew I had to make the team. That's a fair. I'm 7th-round pick. Got to do everything I can to make the football team. Make the football team, 3rd-string quarterback, right? I'm doing everything. I'm doing special teams and practice. You just want to be there. Whatever it takes. And I'm throwing after practice, working on my craft. Lo and behold, Heath is hurt. John Freeze plays 1 week, and then the next week, Norv Turner just says, okay, it's my first year. We're just going to try this kid out, see what he got. So we're going to go play the Indianapolis Colts, Harbaugh, quarterback, Marshall Faulk, a running back, right? So we're going to Indianapolis, and that Monday, it was Wednesday, we come in, and Norv goes in front of the whole team. He said, all right, guys, we're going to make a change of quarterback. Gus is going to be the quarterback. That's the first time I heard that. So there's my opportunity now that I've been working so hard for. So, obviously when you're 22 and you got an opportunity like that, everything just nerves start flowing. Then all of a sudden it's the media, DC's massive media, and it just keeps piling on all week. And get to the game and just had a really good game. Threw my first touchdown to James Jenkins. It was a tight end, little stick route, and threw 4 touchdowns that day. It just, went on a roll. Obviously, Heath was the 1st-round pick, so they got to give him another shot.
Right.
I played 4 games that year. Heath comes back, plays a bunch of games, and the next year they're like, we're going to open it up for competition. Can't ask for anything more than that.
Yep.
And as a 7th-rounder going against a 1st-rounder, my job is just, hey, just do what you've been doing.
Yeah. Right.
Because something's working. And that's all I ever did was just try to work hard, do the things, that I need to do. And, you let the chips fall where they may.
I got a question about that. Having being in that spot, being a backup, and we talked a lot about how was it for me. I had over 14 quarterbacks throughout my career, 14 years, 14-plus quarterbacks. I think I had 15. I don't think I counted Colt McCoy, and I played my last year with Colt, so he might be the oddball out that I didn't count. But with all that said, I shared with Travis about the difference of getting adjusted to different quarterbacks. You have left arm, right hand, whatever you want to call it, and you just got to get accustomed to if it's hard, if they're going to be a guy that has, soft touch, accurate or not. What is it like for a quarterback to come off the bench and have to get acclimated into offense with the guys that you haven't really been practicing with in practice? Is it something different to you, or is it just like, hey, find these guys where they're going to be at, watch film, or throw the spots? How hard is it for you? Because I know how hard it was for me getting adjusted to those guys, quarterbacks-wise.
It is difficult. So there's a couple things that you got to do. You got to take as many scout team reps as you can, and you got to go. What Darryl Green taught me when I was a rookie was the best thing ever happened to me. Darryl Green said, look, you're not making yourself any better by throwing to the circle guy the coach has circled on the scout team play, right? He said, you're not making me any better by throwing the circle guy. He said, read the defense, throw it to who you got to throw it to because you're quarterback. That's what you got to do. You got to read the defense, throw it to the open guy. He said, and play it like it's a game every day. And he said, look, if they come and say something to you, just come see me. We'll take care of it.
Wow.
So D. Green.
OG.
D. Green.
That's dope.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I mean, think about that. He said, look, don't listen. Because you know it.
Yeah.
Scout team,
Trust
they
me.
just circle to throw it to this guy. And it's cover 2, and they want you to throw deep.
And you get killed for that.
Yeah, then you're teaching yourself bad habits and all those things are happening. So you got to take the scout team reps and you got to play it like a game. And then the other thing you got to do is when you get a chance in practice to throw you routes versus air and maybe some 7-on-7, you got to take it serious. You may not want to go hard.
Yeah.
Right? But that's when the veterans got to step up and say, no, he needs to go hard because if he doesn't and we don't get the timing and if our starter gets hurt, then the timing is bad. But you got to get those reps so that you've thrown, a comeback or a dig or whatever the offense you're in. You know, Randy Moss was different. He'd just say, I'm going to throw my hand up. And I'd say, okay, I'm going to throw as far as I can. Because we played Detroit, he did that like twice.
Wow.
And he just had that. He was allowed to do whatever, And you get down the goal line, we had all our signals, and you could throw him whatever you wanted.
Let's get into that because you play with some absolute titans of this game. Moss, a young Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, Ed McCaffrey, Rod Smith, Henry Ellard. When I was in Cincinnati, I played with some, Chad Johnson, names you probably don't, Peter Warwick, TJ Hushmanzada.
Yeah.
Denver, with Ed and Rod. I mean, they were great. When I played in Detroit, I was with Herman Moore.
I remember Herman Moore.
Johnny Morton. Jermaine Crowell.
Yep.
There's a blast. We invented a route there. Nobody's really done this before, and that was the only place we really did it. It was an inside release go route.
Okay.
But we weren't throwing it like a fade, right? We were throwing it on a line, not really like a bang 8, but sort of like that, where he's staying straight down the field, because what happens when he inside release, the defender sometimes he'd either trail him or he'd back off a little bit.
Right.
And so we were throwing not even a 3-step, 5-step, and I'm drilling it on him. And Jermaine caught 5 touchdowns that year just from that how we made that up.
And I think I remember seeing that and wondering, like, how they able to do that? Because we always was told that if you're in a slot, you release outside or you widen them enough and then you get back to your lane. So,
wow.
Yeah,
so we did it from the outside and short side of the field mostly. But, it was just so fun when you would get with guys who wanted to change things. Like, I remember when my first year with Norv, he said, we're going to throw a 7-stop. I'm like, 7-stop? What's that? And then as that was, I don't know why, but mentally that was tough for me. And we kept trying to throw it, and somehow I couldn't get it, right? But then I went to Detroit the year after, and I go to Detroit, and they said, we don't call 7-stop. We just throw it to his back shoulder. Oh.
Yeah.
Made it so much easier, right? So if you're running a corner route, I just throw it at the back of your head. You just turn around, catch it in the window.
Yeah.
It made it so much easier for me. And so when you talk about making guys tick and what they're all about, how they understand things, I've been through that so many times.
Wow.
Different terminologies.
When you see AP now and what he's doing with the Redskins, because you were with him when he was a pup. What goes through your mind, Gus?
Strongest grip ever. Did you ever shake his hand?
No.
Have you ever shake his hand?
Pound him. I saw
Yeah. Shake.
What's up, boy? How you doing?
You ain't fall for it.
I ain't fall for being in the tailpipe.
I go to the Vikings. They call me. They want me to come up and be behind Tavares Jack. I'm 38 years old, right? I'm gonna go help T-Jack out. So I'm in the hall. They said, "Oh, this is Adrian Peterson," and I said, "Hey, Adrian, how you doing?" I almost went down on one knee. He rips your hand so hard. He's a man's man. I mean, the stories I used to hear about him working out from Oklahoma. Yeah. I don't know how many stories you've heard about him working out.
Trent tells a lot about him.
Yeah, that he used to take 90-pound dumbbells and do box jumps with them. He's insane. That's why he came back from 2 ACLs.
Yeah, no wonder.
So, but we're playing. So Adrian and I, we're playing the Packers, right? And we're in Minnesota, and we got to have a drive. We're down 4 points. We got to score a touchdown to win, and we score. We're going to win. I mean, we just got to have a nice drive. I turned to Adrian in the huddle, and I said, "Look, I'm throwing it to you every time." I said, "I don't care what they're doing downfield. They're not covering you. I'm going to throw it to you every time." He said, "Let's roll." So 5 plays in a row, threw him the ball. He was worried, gassed. The last one I remember, he broke a tackle on like the 8-yard line, right in the end zone, scored a win. But, that's the kind of thing. When you have those kind of players, you got to rely on them. My job is to get it to the playmakers.
I imagine Moss was like that.
Well, Randy was just –
that was a different freak, huh?
Yeah,
right?
That's just a different – I mean, he had a bad back. I'm playing in Detroit. Dante gets hurt. I come in as the backup, right? First play, we call some slant thing, and Randy goes, I'm putting my hand up. I'm getting on the safety. It's covered 2. And I don't throw it to him. I don't throw it to him. Right? He comes back in the huddle. He was so pissed.
Probably cursed you out.
He cursed me out. He said, "Look, I don't care what we call whatever protection you want. I'm getting on the safety in 3 steps. I'm putting my hand up, throw it up."
Damn.
I said, "All right, cover 2. Goes inside the corner, right on the safety, throw it up. 60 yards later, he had a bad back, so he kind of caught it, and the guy caught up to him because even then he was faster than the DB. And even in cover 2, those DBs don't think that they're running past him. So I just threw it up. But that's how he was, you know. And when you get to, like, think about all the guys that threw him a touchdown, I was one of 14 guys that threw him a touchdown.
Right.
You know, what's his name? Not Dante, but before him.
Johnson?
No, before Brad.
Randall?
Yeah, Randall.
Oh,
Randall Cunningham, right? He just, when Randy was young, I mean, just watching him, man. I mean, Randall just, I mean, his stride, he just launched that thing, man. And
arms over bad, man.
Yeah, and it was pretty amazing to play with him.
That's crazy.
Look, that was the first NFL jersey I ever got. I remember I was in college, and Randy had just left. I was probably getting into my prime, and he had just left. So I was probably going into my junior or my sophomore year, and he was in the NFL. And I remember I had a wager with a coach of mine. No, it was someone at school. I think a girl in my class. And we had a wager. She bet me something, and I'm like, you know what? If I win, she wanted a jersey of mine. I told her, if I win, I want a Randy Moss jersey, authentic. And she was like, well, that's too expensive. I was like, well, find a way to get it to if I win. And I won the wager, and she didn't give it to me. And all of a sudden, Christmas or something, a birthday pops up. She comes to school with it, like, I had to get it, you know.
Wow.
But that was my first jersey, and think about it. I'm a Moss, he's a Moss.
Your name,
I was glued to the screen watching this. Man, his first year was unbelievable. And I just saw him play, you know, in college, and the things he did his last year in college with Chad Pennington, seeing some of that stuff.
Yep.
So I'm sitting there like, man, this guy's phenomenal to step on that stage, the NFL, and dominate the way he did his rookie season, you know?
And I the best catch I ever saw him make was in practice.
Oh, I bet.
So we were up in training camp, and it was like a deep corner. Right, and Dante throws it to him, but the corner's outside. But he's running the corner out, right, and you're looking outside shoulder like this, and Dante throws it inside. Randy doesn't even turn his head; he goes like this, just catches it. Right? And the whole place just stopped.
Yeah, sick.
Everybody's like, "What did we just watch?"
Sick, man.
He didn't even turn his head; like he just reached back like this, caught it, toe tapped in the end zone, and dropped the ball and walked back.
That's sick.
He was great. He was so competitive, man. We used to play dominoes every morning. Me, him, and Matt Burke, and Sean Hill was another quarterback. We'd be in the equipment room, and we had a table in there. We played dominoes, and he was just competitive. Whether it was dominoes or throwing in a corner in a bucket, we played that game all the time. He just loved to compete.
Yeah.
Here's something I always want to ask as a fan. You know, to me, quarterback controversies have been around since football's been around, right? And I always wondered what it's like in those rooms when it's you and the other guy who's competing for a job. As someone who's been a part of that type of situation your whole career, quite frankly, what is it like? Is it a friendly competition? Are you looking at the other guy like, I'm going to take you out? Do you guys talk? Is it a camaraderie? May the best guy win the job? What is it like inside of a quarterback controversy?
Well, for Heath and I, we didn't really talk a lot. We were very different. You know, I was my second year. I got married after my rookie year, so I was married. I had a family. I was just on a different plane than he was. You know, and he's a first round pick, and he's got everything, and I'm pulling up behind, right? So we didn't have a lot of things in common. And when you're in those meetings, yeah, you're kind of copacetic. You're sitting there, but it wasn't like we were great friends or anything. So we did what we had to do, you know, and we both knew we wanted that job.
Yeah.
And we were going to do whatever it took. We weren't going to be mean about it. We weren't going to say things about each other. That's not how you get things done. And that's not good for the team either. But then, you know, I go to situations like in Denver when I'm competing with Brian Griese. You know, I'm going and I'm learning the West Coast system. Never been in it before.
Right.
It's different. The Shanahan system, right? Mm-hmm. I've never been in it before, so it's a lot of stuff to learn. All right, so I'm like, hey, Brian, can you help me out? What's it?
No.
Crickets.
No.
Crickets, right? Didn't want to help me. So I go to Rod Smith, because Rod Smith was the best note taker I've ever seen. Sit in the front, highlight. He had 5 highlighters every meeting. Every meeting. Rod's been in his system forever. Every meeting, highlighting, knew everything. I said, hey, Rod, can you help me out? What are we thinking here? He'd tell me. Rod was great with that, right? Because I went to a new system. Yeah, I've thrown everybody's thrown double slants, but Mike wanted them a certain way, and do different things, and that was all new for me. And so when you get in a controversy, it depends on the person, and you got to learn about that other person really quick. Is he going to help me? Is he going to be somebody who's very negative towards me, or are we going to get along? Because we get along, it's great. Because for me, it was all about winning, right? If we win, we all do better.
Right. I knew the answer to that, though, because you got to understand something about a quarterback. A quarterback, if I win this job, I'm the guy.
Yeah.
Unless I'm hurt, unless I just go out there and stink up the place, I'm the guy. As a receiver, if you'd ask me that question, I would tell you, there's receivers out there that might play that role and not help out.
Right.
But they know at the end of the day, worst case scenario, I'm going to play, just might not be out there as much as I was. A quarterback, you're not playing, you're not playing. You're not starting, you're not playing. So I can only imagine how most of the quarterbacks are. They don't want to give that secret away, or they might be rooting for you, but it's not something that they really, want to let you know. They just probably like, hey, if you make it, you make it. You beat me, but I'm not trying to help you take what's,
from me.
My livelihood from me. So that was an easy answer to, easy question to answer. And just to hear it from you, I always wanted that because I've seen it a lot.
And for me, coming from a backup standpoint, right, I always had to be supportive a lot of times, right? And then all of a sudden you're competing for the starting job at a different place. And so it takes on a different personality. Right. You have to go from being supportive because you're the backup to now, like when I went to Miami, I'm competing with A.J. Feely.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, this dude's not beating me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you got to change. You got to flip the switch.
Got to flip the switch.
But in the same regard, when somebody else comes in, like I got a concussion. London Fletcher hit me on the chin. Got a concussion. I'm out for 2 weeks. I'm supportive of the next guy. Like, hey, I want us to win. This is important. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways you can look at it.
You bring up Miami. You played for a guy named Nick Saban. Give me that Nick Saban story, and then on the back end of that, I ask, do you think he'll ever come back to the NFL as a head coach?
Well, I'll answer the last part first. I don't think he'll ever come back because why would he? Right? He's had so much success at Alabama. And in college, and didn't have much in the NFL. Because the way that Nick coaches, and to get to your first part, the way that Nick coaches is to be about, I'm the king here, right? And you're going to do what I tell you no matter who you are, no matter what you are. And when you got people on your team like Junior Seau, Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor, and you try to do that to them, it's not going to work out well for you, right? Because I'll give you an example. We're into 2 days, first 2 a day, and it's hot in Miami. We're all out there practicing hard, and nobody cares about practicing hard. We love the work, right? So he brings us in after the first practice. There were 8 of us that were team leaders, and I made a captain that year, and I just got there, and so he brings us in, and he says, "So what do you guys think of practice?" And everybody, Rand McMichael, everybody, we're all junior, we're like, "Coach, we love the hard work. We love the hard work. We ask you one thing." And he's like, "Oh, what do you guys want?" And he goes, Junior was like the one who talked for us, right? So Junior goes, "We just want to take our helmets off when we stretch. That's all we ask."
Small,
right? Because we did like an active stretch over and back, and then when we did our static stretch,
it's hot.
You just want to get that break right before you go work. And so he goes, "Okay." So we go out to the next practice, the afternoon practice. And so we do our active stretch back and forth. We get there. Junior goes. Everybody's watching Junior, right? He takes his helmet off, puts it aside. Everybody else does it, and Nick loses it.
Oh,
I didn't say you could take your helmets on. Put your helmets back on. And right there, he lost a little bit of the team.
Yeah.
And was it really that much to like worry about?
A little bit.
Yeah. And he agreed to it.
Well, he didn't. He just
probably necessarily agreed.
He
probably just took it in, like listening.
But Junior, right, who was our leader
as a
veteran,
and a legend
that everybody looked up to. He might not have been the player that he once was, but everybody looked up to him, and he lost Junior like that. And Junior, him and Junior fought all the time. And Nick had great ideas on defense. We did a lot of good things, but just some things that happened that I saw down there that were very tough to deal with, And I think that's what made it hard for Nick in the NFL.
One of those things I look at, and I want to talk about this because why would he want to come back? Why would he want to come in and experience? I talk about this time and time again because I've been in those meeting rooms. Sure, Gus have too. And the quarterback's probably not the guys you worry about the most, but I've been in meeting rooms with knuckleheads. It's hard to coach divas. They call the receiver position the diva position. And if you an alpha as a coach, like a Nick Saban, and you got a bunch of alphas on your team, regardless of what position it is, it's hard to get those guys to buy in to what you're trying to preach or what you're trying to let them know that's going to allow us to be the team that we're trying to be. So I understand what he's saying, and to me, the college level is best for those kind of coaches.
Sure.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't know what Belichick is teaching over there and what he's doing and how he has brainwashed some of these guys to be the guys that they are because they bought in. I mean, it's some guys over there like the guys that you see now that's, being analysts that you wouldn't believe that he was able to coach and even Brable, what I mean? Seeing what he's doing on the coaching side, knowing the player he once was, all those guys, man. He had some great minds back there that he coached. Brewski, all those guys that you watch now, the player that they was, how was he able to, get those guys to buy in? Then you look at a Saban and say, how is he able to do that on the college level so gracefully, so great, and all his guys to be successful on this level but can't coach on this level the same way?
Well, I think for Belichick is if you don't buy in, I don't care who you are, you're not going to be here.
Right.
Right? Because we just saw him, like, who's the linebacker with the Browns that he cut? It was a first-round draft pick.
Instantly.
Yeah. It doesn't matter to him.
That's the same way was with Shanahan. Because Shanahan, I told you the story about Shanahan. He came in there and he took pride in, look, and I want to tell the story because we're talking about that. When he called me into his office to tell me he was going to put me as his slot receiver, to me, I thought that was a test. Because he just shared with us, I'm willing to cut our key guys if they're not willing to buy in. Then all of a sudden I get called in and he was like, Tanner, you're our best Z receiver. So I'm like, okay, coach, I
ready?
Feel you.
Yeah.
But I want you to play slot. So I'm like, okay, slot. Okay, I can play slot. I played both for you before. But no, I want you coming in on third downs only. Is that going to be a problem? This is a test. I'm going to look at where the camera's at.
Right.
Give me a minute.
I thought he was joking, but then again, he said, I believe that this is going to help us as a team and it's going to help your career. But I'm sitting there like, oh, man, I've been a starter for so long. I remember being that guy that just coming in and taking those third down, reps. And don't get me wrong, I was productive, but that's, and then he said something else. He's like, Tanner, we looked at your snaps and we're rarely throwing the ball to you enough for you to be out there so much at this age.
Right.
And in this time in your game. So I think it'd be valuable for you to save your legs. All right, coach, you got a point.
Yeah.
Because I've been that guy pissed off about it. So, but then I go back to it. If I said anything different or didn't take it away, I'm cut.
Yep.
I'm cut. And I'm glad I'm the guy I am because I think that was my test. That was that test to say, you know what? Tanner might be the guy that I can say, you know what? He's good enough to still be on my team and have this role. But if he tells me no, I'm cutting him. I really believe that. And he might tell you different. I don't know because I know I went out there with my hard hat every day, whether it was practice or game. But he just told us the stories about he take pride in getting rid of guys who feel like they're bigger than the team. And I know I've never been that guy, but I feel like that was my moment to try him, and I did the right thing by not trying him.
Yeah, definitely. Mike's like that. I played for Mike. I went in, my contract was up, and Mike, I went up to him and I said, hey, look, Cincinnati called. They want me to come be the quarterback. I love it here. My family loves it here. I have a lot of good friends in the 2 years I've been here. I said, I'd like to know what you think, right? And I gave him a question. He said, you got to do what you got to do.
Wow.
So right there, I didn't have to ask anything else.
Right.
That's him.
He didn't care enough for me to whether I was staying or not. So I bolted.
Yeah.
I bolted. My wife was pissed, but you got to do what you got to do.
That's him though, because he's going to give you the right answer. He's going to always tell you that do what's best for your family.
That's
right.
You can
like over here all you want. If this situation ain't best for you, do what's best. And,
no doubt.
And he spoke, and that's one of the reasons why I appreciate Mike because out of all the coaches, other than I only had Gibbs and Mike that I really can say that. Don't get me wrong, I loved all the coaches that I was able to be coached by. But when I had to pick the two that stood out the most as a skin, it was Gibbs. One because he was a guy that he can get you to run through a wall for him, and he wasn't a guy that was going to be, cursing and fussing about it. He just showed you that this means business. He put us in situations that, we had, wet ball Fridays or when it's cold outside, it's redskin weather. Put 2 pair of sweatpants on, let's go. Like, he made you, he mind-effed us a lot to make us believe that whatever situation or circumstance, that was our circumstance. We played better in them circumstances. So I appreciate that because it worked. In those games, and I'm sitting there and my teeth clacking, and I'm sitting there, this is redskin weather. I got to make a play.
Let's
like
go.
I made a play in practice in this weather. I got to go do it.
Right.
And then on the flip side of that, Mike Shanahan, he was a guy that he showed you, look, I'm going to let you be a man. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. Enjoy it, but be ready between these white lines.
Woo.
And if I don't see you ready between these white lines, then we got to have a talk. And that talk is not going to be something that you want to go in that meeting room and talk to him about. So I appreciate that because as a pro, you'd think that more coaches would take that step. Like, man, they pros. They're grown men with families and kids and wives, and you name it. These guys have to be accountable for their actions regardless.
Right.
I shouldn't police these guys for their actions.
Babysitting.
Don't babysit us, And it was coaches that tried to, hey, I need you guys to, we have a study here, and if you got to talk to guys like that, you wrong, and you don't got the right guys on your team.
Certain guys don't have the cojones, Gus.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, man, like I was sitting in them meetings like, well, Coach, I'm not coming to that study, but who the hell you talking to, man? You talking to some infants in here? Like, you got to talk to them like that? Like, so, I'm not coming, but I'm going to be right.
Right.
And I remember being put in one of them situations where a coach stepped to me about something that I was doing, and I asked him, first of all, oh, Coach, hold on. Matter of fact, you ain't stepped to me, but you said something about something that I'm partaking in. Do you have a problem with my game? He looked at me like
man to man.
Oh, nah, you're doing that? But I don't have no problem with you. Coach, that's all I want. But do you know who else? Nope, I don't know nothing about nobody else. I'm talking about me. I put my name on it.
Right.
But do you have a problem with what I'm doing on Sundays or whatever day that we go out there and play? No, but I just find it odd for you to be a part of that. I understand, Coach, but I'm going to handle my business and keep walking.
Wow.
So, it's coaches that you have to understand. As coaches, you have to understand that there's going to be guys that they do things a little different. They wired a little different. Well, but as long as they out there on that field playing to what you want to see their level
that's all that matters.
All that matters.
That happened to me in Detroit, right? So Charlie Batch and I were quarterbacks, and Charlie got hurt. I ended up playing a lot. We made the playoffs, played the Redskins actually down here, lost to them. But going to had a 1-year deal. Go in, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to offer me something. I'm going to come back. And go in, meet with Jim Zorn, who was my quarterback coach. Bobby Ross was the head coach. Sylvester Crooms was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And so Jim calls me in his office, and he goes, I don't think we're going to re-sign you. But I just got offensive player of the year for you guys. Like, busted my ass, did everything I could. He goes, well, I think you fool around too much. I said, wait a second, Jim. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're always playing in the locker room and messing with the guys and stuff. And I said, do I not produce when I'm out in the field? He goes, well, there was that one throw. I'm like, one throw? I said, I give you everything I got when I'm on the field and in practice. And then when I try to lighten things up in the locker room to make us more of a team, you're getting mad at me for that?
Wow.
And he said, well, I just don't think you're the player that we need. It wasn't because of my play out on the field.
Something bogus.
It was because he thought that because I'm a jokester, right? I liked having fun in the locker room. That was our space.
Right.
That's our space. And whether you think it or not, when guys play pranks with people and you get everybody involved, you become a family.
Brings them together.
You bring it all together. Like in St. Louis, we had a little equipment guy. Little Johnny, right? He's the guy that take your cart around and hang your clothes back up and all that in your lockers. And he used to pick on me all the time. I said, Johnny, I'm coming down. And he had a disability. And I said, I'm coming down throwing you in a cold tub. He goes, oh, yeah, whatever. He kept picking on me. He kept doing stuff to my locker and my clothes. Right. I said, I'm coming down for meetings today, and you better be ready, and I'm throwing you in the cold tub. And so I come down. I had all the guys line up, make like a tunnel to the cold tub, which was right by the locker room in St. Louis. And I said, get in the car, Johnny. He was all ready. He's in the car. He goes, you'll never do it. I took that cart right into the cold tub. Everybody's standing around. He gets up out of the cold tub. His face is crazy. And I said, I told you I was going to do it. Quit messing with me. And no, the whole team was around and like they're yelling his name, you know.
That's cool.
But that was my way of bringing us all together, right? Because it's hard for people from different backgrounds to try and like sit down and say, okay, you're totally different. And you know, we all have a different language. We all do different things, and we're all about different things. But I try to bring us, you know, together in a different way.
Because it's so separate. It's so divided in those locker rooms. People don't know that. Like, you watch us play on Sundays and whatever day you watching these games, and you like, man, that team went out there and performed together. But if you actually had to be in some of those locker rooms, you would see the division. You would see guys that, if you're a guy that don't go out and you into the family life,
you're over there.
They over there in their huddle. If you a guy, you a Christian guy, and you go to Bible study. I was going to every Bible study, but I wasn't going to church on the regular. And I didn't feel like I was no different from the guy who was, you know, a Christian or who went to church, you know, all the time. I didn't grow up that way, but I wanted the word. And those guys will turn their backs on you, and you say, we a team. So, you know, I get that, because folks don't realize why certain teams are successful.
Yeah.
Because what he just shared, he's telling you, like, look, I'm going to be that guy that, you know what, regardless of what your background is, what you do, what you partake in outside of this locker room, while we here, we brothers. We're going to have fun together.
Frank Wright just said it in the press conference after his last game. He said, look, it's all about the guys in the locker room, and it starts in the locker room. But if that locker room doesn't get along, it ain't going to happen.
Wow.
Right? All the great teams, like the Bills, right? My cousin played for the Bills on those 4 Super Bowls.
Wow.
And those guys did everything together.
Wow.
Right? Jim Kelly was a ringleader.
Yeah.
If you didn't go somewhere where Jim told you to go, then he was going to get pissed at you. But he included everybody on that team.
Wow.
Right? And that's why they were so tight, and that's why they played so well together.
All right, let's do taking L's. Gus is going to take it this week, Tana.
Oh, man.
So I always said, if I met Gus,
let me get a drink.
and we get a chance to interview him, I'm going to let him tell his story of the headbutt on the wall.
Please do.
Please, sir, the floor is yours.
So it's a year where we're having some difficulties with the Redskins, and Norv and I and Mike Martz came in. He was the quarterback coach, and we were having some kind of problems, right? We weren't getting along great. It's the whole thing we've been talking about the whole podcast. And so we're playing the Giants, which is obviously a big rival for the Redskins. We're in the Giants, and it just felt like so much pressure on me, right?
Yeah.
Just all this weight on my shoulders and everything. And we drive the ball down, run a touchdown in, and I'm just like, it's all gone, right? You're just in that moment. You finally, all the hard work you put in and getting the coaches off your back, you score a touchdown, and I just continue running right through the end zone, right to the wall. And so I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to jump off the wall, just like, just run into it. And I don't know what I was thinking, but when I came, my head went forward, hit the wall, and turned around and was, I got a stinger from doing that. I mean, I'm a quarterback. I don't hit anybody. And then I turn around, and Jamie Asher was my tight end, slaps me right inside of the head. Like right after that happened, and I'm like, all right, this does not feel good. I'm over on the bench, and I'm like, okay,
like woozy.
I'm like, well, no, I wasn't woozy. I didn't get a concussion or anything. I was just like, God, this is just killing me. Like I got to start getting stiffened up, and if it was my left shoulder, I would have been able to play. Yeah. So didn't play. Obviously they say, oh, he broke his neck and had all these problems, and none of that. So they made a big deal out of everything, and come back, and Norv wants to fine me $10,000 for conduct detrimental to the team.
What?
And this is the next day. I'm in meetings. I'm fine. I play the next week, right? So, and obviously all the media stuff, and it's playing everywhere, and you just got to learn. And if you think about dealing with adversity, and I tell people all the time, I said, look, I played 5 years and dealt with the worst adversity I've ever had in my life, besides a member of my family dying or something like that, and was able to go on and play another 10 years. I said, people don't understand how hard that was, right? That I was in one of the major sports markets in the world and had that happen to me in front of, I think it was the biggest game. It was in front of like 65 million people or something saw it. And it's on ESPN every week. You know, I'm sure you can catch it anytime you want.
They play it over and
the
over.
Junkies, you know, obviously put it on every time I'm on their show. But it's just the adversity that I had to go through, getting through that, and then not only dealing with myself, but dealing with my family, my wife, my kids, everybody always saying something about it. Yeah. And so there's two ways to handle that. And my upbringing was, I'm the underdog. I'm always going to work hard. I don't care what happens to you. And the next play is the most important play.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the mentality I went with it. People are going to say shit to you all the time, tell you suck, tell you you're not good, you shouldn't be on the team. People tweet it at you. People say stuff. And so if you listen to them, that's what you're going to be.
Exactly.
Right? And I never listened to that stuff. Yeah. Even though I knew probably was the end of the, with the Redskins. Yeah. But I was going to start a new chapter in my life and keep moving on.
That's cool, man.
And the way I look at it is it's no different than when you leave football.
Right.
You got to start a new chapter. So it taught me a lot on how to deal with all these things. And, people can be nasty.
He took an L.
Wow.
That was my L, man. That was a big L.
But he got a dub out of it.
He got a dub out of it.
From it,
But I still take an L. Probably every show I come on or whatever, I'm always taking an L. So I got to turn it into a dub, right?
That's why I wanted him to
but that's the
give
first
his
time
take.
me hearing the story, from his perspective of it. And trust me, I was the guy on the outside looking in. I was in New York, I believe, at the time. And the first thing we heard was you broke your neck doing that.
Oh, the media went nuts.
He broke his neck. I said, did he not check the wall to make sure it was soft enough? Who knew what went on with that? But that just goes to show you a prime example of someone taking something so small and blowing it up out of proportion, and then it calls you to, a little, especially a person that has to deal with that for the entirety of his life.
I can't believe they fined him for that.
And then
they wanted to. He wanted to.
It's crazy.
But, crazy. And that goes back to the whole winning profile thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, when a guy is down or is having pressure, what do you do? Do you make it worse for him?
Right.
And I learned so much, and I had to learn this personally with my son because he wanted to play quarterback, and I was coaching him how my dad used to yell at me, right? Mm-hmm. And it was tough. Like growing up with my dad was tough. Like it was never about what you did right, it was about what you did wrong.
Right.
And so I found myself with my son in 9th grade doing a lot of those same things with Gunner because he was a quarterback. Mm. And I said, look, I just came to my wife one night and said, I got to change.
Yeah,
wow. He hated playing quarterback because of that. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't want to lose my relationship with him because I'm being an asshole.
Right.
And I look back at what happened with me is like, if you have somebody that is down, do you make it worse for him because you don't like the way he's playing?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Or do you try to bring him out of it and become his friend and do things that help him?
Right.
And I feel like
him.
Right, I feel like I didn't get that from the coaching staff when I was at the end with the Redskins.
Man, what a podcast, Tana.
No doubt. Gus brought it.
Man, Santana Mars Show podcast. Gus, thank you, brother.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Merry Christmas to you too, man. No doubt. Santana Mars Show podcast.
Happy Hanukkah, my brother.
Happy holidays to everybody. Peace.
It's a Santana Mars Show. Number 89, hustle all the time. Travis on the right, hot mic on the left. Every single week, it's a lyrical.